What's happening?
What's up? What are you drinking, by the way?
Sauvignon Blanc, I believe.
Nice. I think perfect for a Sunday. Your Sunday
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc. I love it. I love it. David Diggs, welcome to the Variety After Show.
Thanks. This is like the most convenient, easiest interview I've ever done. So
Perfect.
I'm excited.
Perfect.
It's already one.
It's all downhill from here then.
Yeah.
Well, how are you? You
Don't
got your
screw this
Sauvignon. How are you? You got your Sauvignon. You seem to be winning quarantine.
I am. I mean, in a lot of ways, I am definitely one of the more fortunate quarantiners probably in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm very safe. My family's safe. I drink a lot of Savvy Bee. It's good.
What more could you ask for, right?
You know? Yeah.
Well, did you get to watch the premiere of your new show?
So I'm on the West Coast, so it hasn't aired.
Oh, it hasn't happened.
Today, but I did also watch. We had a thing. There was like one of these. Have you been doing any of these like weird Hollywood virtual premieres? Everyone's trying to crack a riddle. None of them have worked, including ours. So don't worry about it. But it was super fun.
I think I've seen some like live tweet-alongs. I know some casts have gotten together like over Zoom and done things together.
That part's been great, and we did that. But,
very cool. Yeah. The show, like watching the premiere episode. I mean, you know what happens. You lived it. You did it.
I saw it one time.
Is it going to hit a little differently now that we are on lockdown? Because I felt like it really did. Not just because of the close quarters of people, but just the idea of you're just on this like unending train ride. Unending cycle.
People have been bringing that up to me for sure. This idea of like the endlessness of it, or not having an end in sight. That's definitely part of it. I also feel like there's something about longing. There's longing for a time that was different, right? That we are all sort of going through right now. Like I distinctly remember still what it was like to be able to go to a concert, and now is no longer that time. And so I'm sort of in mourning for that time, right?
Yeah. And also being next to someone that closely.
Yeah.
Like they are in the tail.
Without thinking about it.
Right.
You used to be able to do you remember when you used to just like brush up against somebody on the street?
No, I don't. Now I wince if
Different
somebody
kind of-
is like not like 10 feet away from me.
Wash my hair with Dial soap. Antibacterial bar soap in my hair.
every time I go outside and I come back and I have to wash my hands immediately, I'm just like, I'm so tired of this.
It's so stressful.
It's so stressful, but also that stress is hitting very differently depending on who you are, which is yet another theme, that theme of class in the show. That I think is going to hit people as well.
Yeah, and that's to me always been the interesting part of the show, is it really is about class in relation to limited resource, which is actually all class has ever been in relation to, but the show, by making class really obvious in this like straight line, allows you to focus a little more on the limited resource part. At least me, when I started reading it and thought, oh, that's really interesting, because the haves and have-nots, when there is a very like finite amount of things to have, becomes like a lot more high stakes. When it's not just about like, do you have enough or excess, but like, do you have enough or are you dead? Yeah.
Which is very sadly relevant right now.
Yeah,
I think.
deeply.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the show. You said when you first read, I mean, it's gone through a couple of iterations before, being pushed out the way that it is now. How different is the Leighton that you first read compared to, who made it onto the screen?
Leighton is, well, we didn't get too far down the road of the like very first version I read, but Leighton, like the core of Leighton has always been the same. He's like very future focused. He like loves his people in the tail. He is someone who understands the currency of information as it relates to the potential for revolution, and he's like cautious with everybody's life but his own, right? Those things about Leighton have sort of always been true. So yeah, whereas I think maybe some cast members had like more drastic changes over time, like the things that sit at the heart of, like, he's always been a detective from Chicago. Like these things have always been sort of baked into it for me.
Yeah. He is dedicated to the people in the tale. But for the people who have watched the episode, I think everyone knows when he takes a bite of that grilled cheese dipper. By the way, made me like salivate. It was that looked like a really good grilled cheese.
Good. The flip of that is that I haven't had a grilled cheese sandwich since we had to do. There was no place to cut in that scene, so there was no spitting out of sandwiches.
So how many did you have to eat?
10 full sandwiches and full bowls of soup, and I haven't had either since that day.
Do you think you ever will ever again?
I don't know. Life is long. I'm trying to get over it. You gotta move beyond things at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. I've come close a couple of times. There's a lot of
suffering for the art. I can appreciate.
Yeah. I'm clearly very hard suffering.
But that moment when he does get that taste of what it could be like at the front of the train. Are we
at the middle of the train? They're not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the crazy thing about it is he's only gone like one class up, and he has a grilled cheese when he's been eating those bars, for the last 7 years. Also, he's seen sunlight for the first time in 7 years. That scene, I sort of love that scene because it is like a crystallization of so much newness for Leighton. It's like sunlight and real food are things that I, in my regular life, kind of take for granted. And it's literally been 7 years. That was a wild thing to try and figure out how to perform.
Yeah. The newness of that, I think. But are we always going to see Leighton, I bring up that scene because I think we see a glimpse of him maybe wanting to make some alliances and move up from the tale.
It is in a lot of ways a show about alliances. And so like his love for the tale is certainly challenged a lot. I won't give away too much more than that about which choices he makes, but like it is often challenged. He is certainly offered a better life on numerous occasions.
What do you think this show is saying about capitalism?
Well, I think it is certainly examining it is about a bunch of people living within a system. That this one is kind of an oversimplification of how capitalism works, right? But it is a bunch of people living within a system, and at a certain point, someone is questioning, or a bunch of people are starting to question why, and the system then has to come up with an answer for that. And if the system can't answer for it, then the system has to change. And I think that's really what Revolution is about. And so, while I cannot say whether or not the show is like advocating like an all-out war where we all run to Capitol Hill and try to take over the thing. I will say that like it is encouraging an examining of whether or not our particular brand of capitalism and democracy is actually working, and that there is some sort of there is something to be mined in the act of examining it, and then there are steps that potentially could be taken if it is not working.
It's so crazy because, again, I go back to all of these questions are being raised right now. And in your time of, self-reflection, or what are you doing in lockdown, have you been thinking about this as well?
Sure, but all of these like systems analysis things I've been thinking of for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
for most of my life. So I think, but it is a continuation of the thought for sure, and we're confronted every day with like who is thriving and who is failing in this system, and is that fair? And have there been a bunch of promises made to people that just aren't being kept? You know?
Right. And how quickly all those things can change.
Yeah.
The big revelation, and again, everybody who's watching, there are going to be a little bit of some spoilers, but it's revealed that who Wilford actually is.
Oh, yeah.
Is their relationship, Leighton and Wilford, and Molly's character, will it always be sort of adversarial?
No, I mean their relationship like changes quite a bit, and I think what is interesting about them is pretty early on they both gain a lot of respect for each other, whether or not they agree with each other. And so that actually level of respect becomes like the defining characteristic of their relationship. And then like there's a ton of back and forth that happens there over the course of the season. They alternately like need each other and love each other and hate each other. And there's like a, you know, they betray each other, they help each other. It's very complicated.
Do you think, because I saw that I feel like the reason why there's so much tension between them is because they're actually very similar.
They've both been thrust into leadership roles that they didn't necessarily ask for, you know. So yeah. They're both trying to solve the same problem, which is how to make this train run for everybody, and they're coming at it from literally opposite ends of the train. Yeah. But they are in some ways cut from the same cloth, but one cloth is a very polished and brilliant Jennifer Connelly cloth, and the other one is me.
Both cloths are beautiful.
Depends on what you're in it for. If you like burlap, there's, some people do.
Oh, that's so good. I know that this role, the physical part of it for you was actually kind of tough, right?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, I always assumed that would be a thing that I liked, doing stunts, and that I would probably excel at, and that's not untrue. But it turns out it's pretty hard for me to like beat people up all day. Like the days where I got beat up were way easier than emotionally than the days when I had to kill a bunch of people and then go home and come back and do it again the next day. Like that turns out took a much greater toll on me than like getting my ass whooped for a couple of days in a row.
Why was that? Sounds like you were surprised by that.
I was, because like, of course, like since you're a kid, you want to like be able to fly and
be a badass.
People, right? Like that's but the problem is that there's a kind of physical nature to stunt work, I think, that requires like incredible stunt performers to pull it off. So like everything essentially on a TV set, when you're an actor, like literally from the moment you show up, everything is there to make you look good, right? Including these other stunt performers who are training their whole lives to be able to believably get beat up.
Yeah.
And what I never realized is that the way you believably beat somebody up is just kind of to beat them up, but they're good enough to take it. Like,
that's horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, and not of course, like you're doing it within safety constraints, but like
right.
Breakaway glass doesn't feel like nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so like if I'm smashing a bottle over somebody's head and I do it 80 times over the course of a day because we can't get the shot, and we probably can't get the shot because of me, not because of this professional. And that takes its toll on me. Like I've started to feel really that it was just hard. It was just hard to like be physically compromising somebody, even though of course it wasn't serious, and of course they are trained to take it, and of course, but still, it doesn't feel like nothing. Right. And and if I mess up, like they are better at, they're covering for that. Right.
Yeah.
Like, no one's gonna get me in trouble on set, which is like, right. Like no one's gonna be like, it hit me too hard. Like literally no one would say that. And I kind of wish they would,
Yeah. Yeah. How did you kind of decompress from that? Like as you shot the show? You must have a stash, a cellar somewhere.
No, also like this cast was amazing and we were actually very close. So we would hang out a lot. Mm-hmm. And so, that like just going out and making sure to be around people doing non-Snowpiercer things. And I was able to make a lot of music too. So like that was always good. I could just go home and like play around in my wherever I was living in Vancouver. I built a little makeshift studio as soon as I got there. So, going back home and just messing around in there for a few hours was always useful.
Nice. So many of us know you from this little thing called, oh, I don't know, Hamilton.
I've never heard of it.
It's this thing like you did a couple
I
years
did
ago.
it?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I know you've been so busy. The way that show, that play transformed who could be on Broadway, who could take on those roles. When did you guys know you were onto something special?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You know, we were in the middle of it before we knew how much it meant to people. Right? We'd already been doing it for quite some time, at least for me. I knew it was very good when I read it, or when I heard like Lynn's little demos of every song. I knew it was good, but like I do a lot of things that I think are good and nobody else seems to care. So I don't think I'm the best metric for that. But yeah, we were deep in it, to me, before I sort of understood how much it meant to people. And that's been really wonderful. You know, it's great to be part of something that means a lot to people and that people find useful. I think there's a thing sometimes as an artist that you wonder, like, what is in the grand scheme of things, what's the point, right? Even though I do believe there's like a great use and need for entertainment. But the way that people would approach me and continue to approach me about Hamilton feels like they use it in their lives to get through things or to inspire them to do things. So there's something like fundamental about the story and the way of telling the story that, like, for a lot of people, like, allows them, gives them some sort of foundational level of courage or willingness to try something, or, you know, and that's cool. That doesn't happen very often. You may get a chance to do a lot of really entertaining things, but you don't get a chance to do a lot of things that people really seem to use outside of the moment that they're immediately being entertained by it.
Right. And you are busy. You are going to be part of Central Park.
Yeah.
That is what can we expect from that? Because it is Broadway, and it is singing, and it is animated. It's from the same people who did Bob's Burgers. Josh Gad is involved.
Yeah, Lauren Bouchard and Josh Gad created it, and it's so good, man. I'm excited for people to see it. It's so much fun. It's such a joyous experience, and the music is like, there is no reason for music to be that good in an animated show, but it is. And I'm so happy to just like be a part of it, and, you know, talk shit next to Stanley Tucci on the show. Like, what? You know, both.
Yeah, because we don't
like
really see.
It's amazing.
We don't really see like musical animations that much, at least like serialized that way.
Yeah, in the TV world,
yeah.
You know, because it's hard to do, I think. But this show makes it seem like it must not be that hard, because there's hella songs in every episode, and they're all bangers, and like every one of them is good.
You just won me over with your hella. I know you're from the 510. I love it.
There you go.
Sebastian in the live action Little Mermaid. No, we can't talk about that. Okay.
I literally can't. I'm as afraid of the mouse as everybody else, so I ain't saying nothing about that.
In theory, if you were asked.
If I were asked about, yeah, I don't know.
Well, how has this lockdown disrupted your professional life? Like, how has it disrupted the things you were involved in?
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing's shooting, so we were deep into season 2 of Snowpiercer, and stopped production on that, and there were various other things I was flying around shooting. And obviously, like, travel stopped, and then those productions stopped. So that, yeah, which is, you know, like I said, I'm fortunate. I have things in development. I have plenty of work to do, and that is continuing, and that's great for me. What I didn't notice is that the muscle that I don't get to flex as much is a performance muscle, right? Because nothing is shooting, and obviously, like, I come from a theater world, and plays aren't happening, and who knows when they will. So that has been an interesting thing to try and figure out how to get that fix for myself as an artist. You know, one of my favorite ways that I found to do it is with the 24-hour plays, who have been doing these things via Instagram, where playwrights will write specially catered sort of monologues, or we did a musical version of it for particular actors, and then basically the whole process takes 24 hours. They spend roughly 12 hours writing, they send it to you. You learn it right quick and you film it, and then they've been putting it up on their Instagram as like every 15 minutes, starting at like 5 p.m. they'll release another one. So you end up with this evening of programming of people performing like original pieces that have where the whole thing was created in the last 24 hours. And that's been really wonderful for me to kind of like scratch a performance itch. And then, yeah, and the occasional, you know, I got to do a great fundraiser for a bookstore, Marcus Books, in Oakland, oldest Black bookstore in the country. Everybody they're having, you know, like all bookstores are struggling, and like all local businesses are struggling. And so if you're interested in finding a place to spend a couple of dollars, go hit up Marcus Books on the interwebs. They're still selling books, and they're having a fundraiser right now. But I got to like perform some poems that I had written as part of a fundraiser for them over Zoom, right? And that scratched that performance itch a little bit. So it's been, as a performer, usually that's the thing that's most easily taken care of, right? To the point where I can get sick of it and be like, oh, I wish I could stop performing right now. But now like it's kind of flipped, and I have to really seek out and like cater opportunities to perform.
Well, you're getting it done. Before I let you go, are you binging anything while you're in lockdown?
Oh man, nothing.
Besides the Sauvignon. Besides the Sauvignon.
What am I binging? What am I binging? What? Unorthodox. Oh yeah, did watch.
Oh, okay.
Straight through, which was
nice.
so wonderful. Started rewatching The Wire, which is obviously, you know, it's a good time to rewatch things too. Watched all of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies in order.
Oh yeah. Which ones are your favorites?
I still think Casino Royale is my favorite.
Right.
The first one is kind of still the best. What else? I mean, I still watch Columbo and Poirot pretty much every night. Those are my favorite shows. I've seen them all. But that's like my current comfort food.
What are you looking forward to the most once all of this is over?
Rap shows, man. I miss rap shows really bad. We had to cancel a tour. My band Clipping had to cancel like 60 cities worth of touring that we were doing. And
that's devastating, huh?
It is devastating, and just like, you know, there's a kind of energy that exists at a concert that doesn't, you know, I've never figured out how to duplicate anywhere else, and like I don't know when that comes back. Even as things start to reopen, that is so far down the road of what is okay to do, so, you know, I that is definitely what I think I miss the most. Maybe because there's like to me, I see no time in sight where that might be all right, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, have you been able to even have conversations about like, hey, when can we start this up again, or like
we've rescheduled everything for the fall, but like I can't imagine like if anyone's really excited to see a Clipping show who like saw things being reposted. Yes, those are dates where we might be playing again, where we are planning to play again, except I cannot imagine that's happening. So, you know.
Well, we're all getting through it together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apart but not alone.
Yeah, we're going to be all right.
Yeah. Divi, this was such a joy. Thank you so
wonderful.
much.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. Okay, I'm going to leave you to your Sauvignon Blanc. Cheers. I don't have a drink on me, but I will say cheers to you. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you
Stay safe,
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.